Imagine 190 Marines pinned down, completely out of ammo, facing certain death. 40 Japanese soldiers charging straight at them with fixed bayonets, screaming Banzai. 36 minutes later, every single attacker is dead, and not one Marine lost. How? One 22-year-old private broke every rule in the book. He invented a 2-second reload trick so fast, so illegal, that his own officers wanted him court-martialed. This is the declassified story they tried to bury. Real combat footage. Actual Japanese radio panic. The moment 190 brothers lived, because one kid refused to die. Stay until the end. You won't believe what he did with an empty clip. February 19, 1945. The sky above Iwo Jima was the color of dried blood. At 9 o'clock exactly, the first LCVPs dropped their ramps into the black volcanic sand of Red Beach 2. The men of the 4th and 5th Marine Divisions had trained for this moment for months. They expected fire. They did not expect hell itself. The Japanese had 8,000 defenders dug into a pork-chop-shaped rock only 8 square kilometers big. Every square meter was pre-registered by mortars. Every cave mouth hit a 47mm anti-tank gun, or a Type 92 heavy machine gun nicknamed the Woodpecker because of its insane rate of fire. The first wave lost 240 men in the first 10 minutes. The second wave landed on top of their bodies. By 10 o'clock, Company B, 1st Battalion, 28th Marines, call sign Baker, 1-28, had pushed inland roughly 400 yards. They were supposed to link up with the 27th Marines on their left and dig in. Instead, they walked straight into a perfect L-shaped ambush. At 10:15, the world ended. 2 Type 92s opened up from concealed positions on the high ground to the north. The sound was like someone ripping canvas at 600 rounds a minute. Men simply disappeared, torsos shredded, helmets spinning through the air like frisbees. Then 3 knee mortar teams started dropping 50mm shells right on the ridge line. Black sand erupted in perfect 20-foot columns. And then the worst sound of all. Banzai. 40 Japanese soldiers, members of the elite 2nd Mixed Brigade, burst from hidden caves with Arisaka rifles and fixed 16-inch bayonets. They were not running to flank. They were running to finish the job with cold steel. In 90 seconds, Baker Company lost 34 killed and wounded. The survivors, exactly 190 men, were pinned behind a shallow volcanic ridge no higher than a man's waist. No cover. No way forward. No way back to the beach. Every bar was out of ammo. Every Thompson was dry. Every M1 Garand was down to its last 8-round in-block clip. The platoon leaders were screaming over the radio for corpsmen, for ammo, for anything. The only answer was static. That's when Private First Class Anthony Tony Morelli from Brooklyn, New York, 22 years old, former mechanic at his uncle's gas station on 86th Street, looked death in the face and decided he wasn't going quietly. Tony had enlisted in 1943 because his older brother Sal was already on Guadalcanal. Sal never came home. The telegram arrived the same week Tony shipped out. He carried that telegram in his breast pocket every day of the war. Now, with 40 screaming Japanese 30 yards away and closing, Tony did something that would go down as either genius or suicide. He fired his last 8 rounds. The bolt locked open with the characteristic ping that every Marine knew meant empty. Regulations were drilled into them from Paris Island. When the clip ejects, drop it, reach for a fresh one from your belt, insert, let the bolt slam home. Minimum 4 to 5 seconds under perfect conditions. But Tony had no fresh clips left. None of them did. So he did the one thing no instructor, no manual, no officer had ever taught. He caught the still-hot in-block clip as it ejected. He flipped it upside down in his palm, and he slammed it back into the magazine well. The follower rose again. The bolt didn't close. The upside-down clip blocked it, but 8 invisible rounds were now ready to be stripped if he pulled the op rod just a fraction. He racked the charging handle half an inch. The top round fed. He released. The bolt slammed home. He raised the rifle and fired. One Japanese soldier dropped 30 yards away, bayonet still raised. The Marine next to him, Corporal Ramirez from East LA, saw it and thought Tony had lost his mind. Morelli, you stupid son of a... That's not how it works. But the rifle fired again. And again. 6 Japanese were down in under 10 seconds. Ramirez's eyes went wide. He tried it himself. It worked. Within 30 seconds, the word was spreading down the line faster than the charging enemy. Do what Morelli's doing. Flip the clip. By the 4-minute mark, 40 Marines were flipping empty end blocks upside down and slamming them back in. The Banzai charge that was supposed to wipe out Baker Company in hand-to-hand combat ran into something the Japanese had never planned for. A line of rifles that never, ever stopped firing. The Type 92 machine guns kept chattering from the high ground, but the riflemen on the ground, the 40 men with bayonets, were cut down in waves. 36 minutes later, when the last Japanese soldier fell face first into the black sand, the ridge was silent except for the ringing in 190 pairs of American ears. 40 Japanese attackers, all dead. Not one had reached the Marine line. 0 additional American fatalities. And every single Marine who survived owed his life to a trick that, according to every manual, was physically impossible. This is the story of the forbidden reload that saved an entire company on the bloodiest day in Marine Corps history, and almost got its inventor court-martialed for destroying government property. 10:19 a.m., the moment the trick began. Private Tony Morelli fires his last normal clip. Ping. The empty end block flies out. He catches it midair, flips it 180 degrees, slams it back upside down. Half-racks the op rod. Fires. One Japanese sergeant, red sash around his waist, bayonet raised, drops 28 yards away. 10:20, Ramirez copies. Then Lance Corporal O'Malley. Then the entire first fire team. Within 90 seconds, 20 Marines are doing it. The Japanese are now 50 yards away and closing fast. Their officer is waving a samurai sword, screaming Tenno Hika Banzai. The Marines aren't screaming. They're just shooting. Nonstop. Because every time the bolt locks open and pings, the same empty clip is caught, flipped, reinserted, and the rifle roars again. The Japanese front rank hits the dirt in perfect rows, like someone pulled an invisible string. 10:23, the charge is 30 yards out. The 2 Type 92s on the ridge try to traverse onto the Marines, but the gunners can't depress low enough. The Marines now have a solid wall of lead. A Japanese light machine gun team tries to set up on the left flank. For Marines shift fire. The gunner and loader are cut in half before they can even open the feed tray. 10:27. The charge should have reached the Marine line by now. Instead, it stalled 18 yards away. Bodies are piling so high they're giving cover to the men behind. Tony Morelli is standing upright. No one told him to take cover anymore. He is working the trick like a machine. Ping catch flip slam rack 8 rounds repeat. His barrel is glowing dull red. His right hand is burned raw from catching hot clips, but he doesn't feel it. 10:30. The Japanese officer with the sword makes it to 12 yards. He leaps over a pile of his own dead. Tony puts one round through his throat. The sword spins away, still clutched in dead fingers. 10:34. The last 10 Japanese try to break left and go for grenades. The entire Marine line shifts fire like a single organism. 10 bodies drop in under 4 seconds. 10:41, silence. Only the wind and the distant crash of naval guns. 40 Japanese lie dead in a perfect semicircle in front of the ridge. Not one reached the Marine position. Not one Marine from Baker Company is added to the casualty list. The ridge is littered with hundreds of spent 30-06 casings, and exactly 40 upside-down end-block clips lying in the sand like spent brass butterflies. 11:05. The first officers arrive from battalion. Captain Elias Crow, company commander, walks the line with his mouth open. He counts the bodies himself. 40. Then he counts his men. 190 still on their feet. He looks at the upside-down clips. Then at Morelli's burned hand wrapped in a dirty bandage. Then at the glowing barrel of Morelli's Garand. Crow asks only one question. Who taught you that? Morelli shrugs. Nobody, sir. I just didn't want to die. That should have been the end of the story. A hero's welcome. A medal. A legend. Instead, it became a scandal. Because what Tony Morelli did wasn't just against regulations. It was considered destruction of government property. Every end-block clip was stamped, single use only, do not reinsert. The Ordnance Department had spent years proving it was impossible and dangerous. By 1400 hours that afternoon, a furious major from Division Ordnance was on the radio demanding Morelli be placed under arrest for willful destruction of military equipment in combat. Captain Crow told him, on an open channel, "You want him? Come take him. after you step over 40 dead Japs first. The argument went all the way to the 5th Marine Division commander, Major General Keller Rocky. And that's when the second miracle happened. 1427, February 19, 1945. Command Post, 5th Marine Division, a shot-up Japanese concrete bunker that still smells of burnt powder and death. Major General Keller E. Rocky, 2 stars, face like carved granite, voice that could stop a tank, is holding a field telephone so hard the plastic cracks. On the other end, Colonel Clement reading the official charge sheet that just came down from V. Amphibious Corps Ordnance. Private First Class Anthony J. Morelli is to be placed under arrest immediately. Charges: willful destruction of 40 government issue in-block clips. Specification: reinsertion of expended clips in upside-down orientation, rendering same permanently unserviceable. Recommended sentence: General Court-Martial, reduction to E1, forfeiture of all pay, 5 years hard labor. Rocky listens without blinking. Then he does the last thing anyone expects from a man who once took a German machine gun nest single-handed in 1918. He laughs until tears come. He slams the handset down and says 8 words that every Marine in the bunker will repeat for the rest of their lives. Tell Ordnance to come arrest the dead Japs. They lost the fight. Then he grabs his Thompson, jumps in a Jeep, and floors it across the black sand. 1503, the Jeep skids to a halt in front of Baker Company's position. 190 men snap to attention in whatever is left of their uniforms. Some shirtless, some wrapped in bloody bandages, all black from head to toe with volcanic ash and powder. Rocky steps out into the silence. He walks straight to Tony Morelli, 22 years old, right hand wrapped in a rag that used to be white, left hand still holding the garand that hasn't cooled down yet. Rocky looks at the 40 Japanese bodies laid out in a perfect killing arc. He looks at the upside-down clips lined up like silver tombstones. He looks at the 190 living, breathing Marines who, by every rule of war, should be dead. Then he does the unthinkable. Major General Keller E. Rocky, commander of 20,000 men, recipient of the Navy Cross, the Distinguished Service Cross, and every medal short of the Medal of Honor, removes his cover, places it over his heart, and salutes first. A private. The wind stops. The guns in the distance seem to fall silent for 3 full seconds. Rocky's voice cracks when he speaks, the only time any man there ever heard it crack. Private Morelli, on behalf of every Marine who will ever wear this globe and anchor, I apologize. You just saved an entire company with a trick some rear echelon son of a bitch says is impossible. As of this moment, your trick is now official doctrine across the entire United States Marine Corps. Any officer, any ordnance puke, any 4-star clown who tries to punish you for keeping American boys alive will answer to me personally. And I will be waiting with a .45 and a very bad attitude. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out the Silver Star ribbon he was saving for the man who raised the flag on Suribachi, and pins it on Tony's shredded dungarees right there in the volcanic ash. Then he turns to the 190 and roars so loud the sound carries all the way to the beach. These are my boys. And this kid from Brooklyn just taught the whole damn empire of Japan what happens when you mess with the United States Marines. Semper Fi, you beautiful bastards. The eruption of cheering is so loud it registers on a destroyer's sound equipment 2 miles offshore. 1547, Division Ordnance, tries one last time. A lieutenant colonel arrives with 2 armed shore patrol and a set of leg irons. Captain Crow meets him at the perimeter wire with a loaded bar across his chest and 189 Marines standing behind him in a silent wall. The lieutenant colonel takes one look at the bodies, one look at the men, one look at the Silver Star now pinned on a private's chest, and quietly turns around. He never files the paperwork. 1730, the new field manual amendment is typed on a battered underwood in the command tent. Effective immediately, M1 Garand N-block clips may be reinserted upside down in emergency situations to provide continuous fire. Method pioneered by PFC A.J. Morelli, B/1/28 Marines, February 19, 1945. All units will train accordingly. It is signed by Major General Keller E. Rocky himself. Within 48 hours, every Marine on Iwo Jima is flipping clips. The sound of pings followed by immediate firing becomes the new heartbeat of the island. The Japanese never figure it out. They die trying. March 26, 1945. Iwo Jima is declared secured. Official cost, 6,821 American dead. Unofficial saving, thousands more, because emergency landing strips are now open and B-29 crews have a fighting chance. Tony Morelli rotates home in April with a chest full of scars, a silver star he never asked for, and a letter in his breast pocket he never showed anyone. 1987, Marine Corps Birthday Ball, Washington Hilton. 400 old men, some in wheelchairs, some missing arms, some missing eyes, all wearing the same faded eagle, globe, and anchor. The master of ceremonies announces a special guest. A 64-year-old man with grease still under his fingernails walks to the podium. The room goes dead silent. He pulls out a yellowed piece of paper. It is the original court-martial order, stamped canceled in red ink that has faded to dark gray. Underneath, in Rocky's own hand, any man who can save 190 Marines with 8 cents worth of stamped steel deserves a promotion, not a prison cell. The Corps owes this kid everything. K. Rocky, Majin USMC. And below that, a second note added in 1972 by a shaking elderly hand. Tony, I never got to say thank you properly. Consider this my last order. Live long and happy. You earned it on a black sand ridge in 1945. Semper Fi forever. Keller. Tony Morelli, former private, former garage owner, former nobody, reads it aloud. 400 hardened combat veterans. Men who haven't cried since 1945 break down in tears. Tony's voice finally cracks on the last line. They wanted to shoot me for saving my friends. A 2-star general saluted me instead. Never let anyone tell you one man can't change history. Because on February 19, 1945, one upside-down clip proved them all wrong. He raises a glass with his scarred right hand. To the 190 who came home, and the 40 who made sure we did. The room erupts in a roar that shakes the chandeliers. Semper Fi. And somewhere, in whatever place old warriors go, Major General Keller E. Rocky smiles, returns the salute, and whispers, "Job well done, Marine. Job well done." Fade to black. White text on screen, slow and deliberate. One private. One forbidden trick. 190 brothers alive. Semper Fidelis. Thank you for watching. If this story broke something inside you the way it broke us telling it, like, comment, Semper FI, and share it with someone who still believes one man can make a difference. This is why we tell these stories. So they never die. See you in the next one.